She grabbed my hand like her life depended on it. "Pretend you're my husband," she whispered, her voice trembling but sharp. Before I could ask why, a black SUV slowed down across the park path. Windows tinted, engine humming low, cameras, paparazzi. She squeezed my arm tighter, forcing a smile as if we'd been married for years. I just stood there frozen with sweat running down my neck from my morning jog that had somehow turned into a scene from a movie. "My name's Liam Hayes. I'm 25, an assistant in one of those glass and steel corporate towers downtown. My life's been predictable. Coffee at 7:30, spreadsheets by 9, invisible by noon." I'd seen her before, of course. Everyone had Isabel Grant, our CEO, the kind of woman who made entire conference rooms go silent just by walking in. She was rumored to be brilliant, cold, and maybe even dangerous to work for. But that morning, she didn't look like a CEO. She looked scared, vulnerable, even dressed in a gray running jacket, her hair pulled back. She could have been anyone, except for the fact that her watch probably cost more than my monthly rent. The car drove off and her grip on my hand softened. She exhaled, half laughing, half embarrassed. "Sorry about that long story." Then she actually smiled. "You saved me." I wanted to say something clever, but all that came out was, "You're welcome, Mrs. Grant." She smirked, shaking her head. "Isabel, just Isabel." And with that, she jogged away, leaving me standing in the middle of the park, holding my breath and wondering what in the world had just happened. The next day, I tried to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe she'd mistaken me for someone else. Maybe she was joking. But by lunch, my phone started buzzing with notifications. Someone from the office sent me a link. CEO Isabel Grant spotted jogging with mystery man. Is this her secret husband? There was a picture, me, her, holding hands, smiling. I almost dropped my phone. By 3:00 p.m., everyone in the office had seen it. People whispered in hallways. Nora from accounting gave me that look. The mix of jealousy and curiosity that said, "You're dead," or promoted. I didn't know which. When I finally gathered the courage to step into the elevator, Isabel was there alone. She glanced up from her phone, her expression unreadable. "Mr. Hayes," she said calmly. "Walk with me." My heart pounded. We stepped into her office, all glass walls in silence. She turned to me, crossed her arms, and said, "About yesterday, I owe you an explanation." I nodded, too nervous to speak. "Someone's been following me," she continued. "A reporter maybe, or someone from the board. It's complicated." She paused, then met my eyes. "What you did helped me, and I might need your help again." "My help?" I repeated, confused. She smiled faintly, that confident CEO smile everyone in the company feared. "Pretend to be my husband. Just for a while. I'll make it worth your time." I laughed nervously, thinking she was joking. But she wasn't. Her eyes didn't blink. "Why me?" I asked. "Because," she said quietly, "you were in the right place at the wrong time. And because you looked real." I didn't know what that meant. But the way she said it made something shift inside me. For the first time in years, someone actually saw me. Not as the intern, not as the assistant, but as a person. She reached for her phone, then stopped. "You don't have to answer now," she said. "But if you say yes, you'll need to start acting soon. Acting like a man who's in love with me." I couldn't tell if she was teasing or testing me, but the way her voice softened made my chest tighten. Isabel looked out the window. The city lights reflected in her eyes and said almost to herself, "They already think I'm taken. Let's give them something to believe." I stood there caught between fear and fascination. I didn't know if I was about to ruin my career or change my life forever. But one thing was certain, I wasn't just a bystander anymore. I was part of her story. Isabel didn't call it a deal. She called it a schedule. Thursday, charity gala. Saturday, board brunch, navy suit, smile when I touch your arm. She slid an itinerary across the desk like a contract without signatures. I asked, "If this works, what changes for me?" "You won't be invisible," she said, "and I won't be alone." It should have sounded transactional. Didn't. Her voice was careful. I told her I needed an hour. She nodded as if she'd planned for doubt. Back at my desk, The office buzzed around my name. Nora brought coffee. Eyes half warning, half worry. Whatever this is, be smart, she said. People talk. Colin lives for that. Colin Reed, the executive vice president who treated rumor like currency, stepped from a conference room, smiled without warmth. Hayes, he said, big week. Stay hydrated. A threat dressed as a joke. I walked to the park at lunch and sat where it began, the bench by the path. I typed yes, erased it. Typed maybe, erased it. Then I remembered her hand tightening when the SUV crawled past. I hit send. I'll do it. Her reply arrived before my breath settled. Thank you. 7:30 tonight. Hotel Marlowe Bar. She was early in a slate dress. When she looked up, something softened. Liam, she said, and the name felt like welcome. We rehearsed. How we met. A book launch. An argument over a first line. Our first date. Ramen in a storm. The ring. Not yet. The way I'd touch her shoulder when cameras lingered. Rules, she said. We keep it kind. We keep it clean. If it hurts your life, we stop. What if it helps my life? Then tell me before it changes you. Honesty is the anchor. She took my hand. Not performance, not quite. And held it a beat too long. Warm, steady. My guard dissolved like sugar in tea. Thursday. Gala lights pulled on floors. She took my arm. Flashes popped. The room inhaled. We moved as if we'd practiced for years. She introduced me to donors and directors as if I belonged. I learned to breathe between questions. Michelle texted. You okay? Reed is circling. I looked up there. He was smile-polished like a cufflink. Mrs. Grant, Colin said. Congratulations, Liam. Impressive upgrade from spreadsheets. Spreadsheets teach patience, I said. And patience, he replied, teaches loyalty. His eyes measured the distance that love would erase. He lifted his glass. To optics, Isabel's grip tightened. To outcomes, she said in the swirl of strings and talk. I realized I wasn't acting. I wanted to be what I pretended to be. After midnight, under a thin band of stars, she exhaled. You were good in there. I followed your lead. No, she said, you found the rhythm. I almost told her the truth, that the rhythm wasn't fake, just my heart keeping time with hers. Instead, what happens now? Now, she said, we run a little farther. She gestured toward the dark street like a track we shared. I'll make sure the office stops swallowing you. You make sure the noise doesn't swallow me. Deal, I said, then winced. She smiled. Schedule, she corrected, and we both laughed. At home, the article had changed. New photos, new speculation, comments scrolled, some kind, some cruel. I put the phone face down and watched the ceiling, listening for the quiet certainty that guides choice. Pretend you're my husband had sounded like trouble. Tonight, it sounded like direction. I fell asleep before fear found me, her perfume on my jacket. And for the first time in years, tomorrow felt like a door half open. By the third week, pretending felt dangerously easy. My phone calendar was filled with her initials, IG, and my evenings no longer belonged to me. We appeared together at dinners, fundraisers, press luncheons. She always knew when to smile, when to whisper, when to brush her hand against mine just enough for people to believe. Every glance, every gesture was part of the choreography she'd built to protect her empire. But somewhere along the way, I stopped feeling like a prop. One night, we had dinner at her penthouse. A quiet evening before another board event. The place looked like a magazine spread. Soft lighting, jazz humming low, city lights moving in the glass behind her. She was barefoot, pouring wine, more human than I'd ever seen her. I can't believe I'm saying this, she admitted. But I forgot how to eat dinner with someone who actually listens. I laughed. That's your problem. You hired a listener, she smirked. I hired an actor. The listener part came free. We talked for hours about nothing and everything. Books we never finished. Our childhood fears. The people who taught us how to survive but not how to love. Somewhere between the laughter and the silences, I realized how alone she really was. Beneath the confidence, there was exhaustion. The kind that comes from fighting too long to stay respected in a world full of men who'd rather see her fail. At one point, she asked, Do you ever think about what people say about us every day? I said, but I'm starting to care less. She studied me for a moment, then whispered, that's dangerous, Liam. I didn't ask why because I knew caring less meant feeling more. The next day, the illusion nearly broke. During a charity auction, her ex-husband, Elliot, showed up uninvited. Tall, perfect suit, eyes like polished stone. He shook my hand too firmly and said, you must be the reason she's smiling again. Isabel froze for a second, then laughed it off, but I could see the tension behind her smile. Later, she told me he'd been trying to buy shares in her company to take back what's his. So that's why they're watching you? I asked partly, but there's more. He's using people inside the company. Colin, maybe others. They'd love to prove I'm unstable or distracted. Am I a distraction? I asked. She looked at me for a long moment. You're becoming one. Silence stretched between us, soft and dangerous. That evening after the event, she asked me to stay. Not for work, just stay. We sat on her balcony, the city glowing below us, wind moving through her hair. I used to think success meant never needing anyone, she said quietly. But lately, that doesn't sound like success anymore. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. She leaned against me barely, like a secret only the night should know. Her perfume mixed with the smell of rain starting somewhere beyond the skyline. I wanted to freeze that moment, bottle it, live inside it forever. When lightning flashed across the sky, she laughed softly. Seems storms always find us. I smiled. Then maybe we're meant to run through them. She looked up, eyes reflecting the city lights. And for the first time, she didn't hide whatever was behind them. Careful, Liam, she said. You're starting to sound like a man in love. I tried to joke it off, just staying in character, but she didn't laugh. She just whispered, that's the problem. So am I. The rain started to fall slow at first, then harder. We stood there soaked, neither of us moving. No kiss, no confession, just two people realizing the script had changed. And neither of us knew what the next line was supposed to be. When I got home, I couldn't sleep. My phone buzzed. Her message simple and impossible. Thank you for tonight. Don't stop being real. I stared at the words until the screen went dark. Pretending had never felt this close to truth. The storm didn't end that night. It just moved into our lives. By Monday morning, the office hummed with whispers. A blog headline glared from every screen. CEO Isabel Grant's secret relationship exposed. Someone had leaked photos. Our balcony, her hand on my chest, silhouettes against the rain. They looked intimate. They looked real. When I walked through the lobby, the receptionist avoided my eyes. Nora caught up with me near the elevators. They're saying Colin leaked it, she whispered. But the board's furious. You need to stay out of sight. Isabel called me to her office. The blinds were half closed, light cutting across her desk in sharp stripes. She looked like she hadn't slept. They're launching an investigation, she said. Conflict of interest, ethics, image. You might lose your job. I almost laughed. You're the one they're after, not me. They'll use you to get to me. Her voice cracked slightly on the last word, and that broke me more than any headline could. I wanted to reach for her, but she lifted a hand. Don't. If you care about me, stay away until this cools down. She said, I can't do that. You have to. When I didn't move, she turned away. Please, Liam. That word please hit like a knife. She'd never asked for anything before. I left before she could see my face. Outside, Colin Reed was waiting near the elevators, smiling like a man who just set a trap and was watching it close. Tough week, he said. She'll survive. You're not sure. I stepped closer. You did this. He didn't deny it. You were just convenient. A story sells better when there's a face. He patted my shoulder. Next time, don't fall for your boss. That night, I packed my desk. Security wouldn't even meet my eyes. I was already a ghost in the building I dreamed of belonging to. Hours later, when I was halfway home, she called. They forced me to resign, Isabel said quietly. No anger, no tears, just emptiness. I told them it was my decision. But you know what? They called me a liability. Then they don't deserve you, I said. She laughed, tired and broken. You always say the right thing, Liam. Maybe that's why this hurts. I went to her apartment anyway. She opened the door barefoot in jeans and a sweater, her hair loose, eyes red. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. I know. For a long time, we just stood there, the silence heavier than any apology could carry. Then she stepped forward and wrapped her arms around me. It wasn't romantic. It was survival. A moment of two people trying not to fall apart. I ruined your career, she said against my shoulder. No, I said softly. You gave me something worth losing it for. She pulled back just enough to look at me. The distance between us was one heartbeat wide. You don't know what this will cost. Then let me pay it. For the first time since I met her, she let herself cry. Not a storm, just quiet, helpless tears that made me realize how much she'd carried alone. I held her until her breathing slowed. I'm leaving the city, she said eventually. I need to disappear for a while. Clear my name. Maybe start again. Then I'll go with you. She shook her head. No, you still have a life here. Not without you, she smiled sadly. You'll survive. You always do. When I finally left, the rain had started again. I walked for miles, the city lights blurring into gold and gray, somewhere between the thunder and the traffic. I realized this wasn't just about jobs or headlines. It was about truth, the kind that doesn't care who gets hurt as long as it's felt. Her message came at dawn. Thank you for not giving up on me. But please don't follow. Not yet. I stared at the screen, soaked and sleepless, and whispered into the empty street. Then when the phone stayed silent, the storm, however, didn't. 6 months passed before I saw her again. By then, the scandal had burned itself out, leaving nothing but ash and quiet. I found a small job in another firm, lower pay, longer hours, no spotlight. Suited me. I didn't jog anymore. Not since that morning, everything changed. But on a cold Saturday in early spring, something pulled me back to that same park. The same path where she first grabbed my hand and said the words that started it all. First, I thought I imagined her. A flash of gray running shoes, that steady rhythm of steps I'd memorized without meaning to. Then she turned and it was really her. Isabel, no cameras, no guards, no mask of control, just her. She slowed down, catching her breath. And when our eyes met, her smile carried the weight of everything we'd survived. I thought you stopped running, she said. I thought you disappeared, I answered. Maybe we both needed to. We walked side by side down the path. The air smelled of wet leaves and sunlight. She told me she'd moved to a small consulting firm, built something quiet, honest. It's not the empire I had, she said, but it's mine. I told her I'd been fine, though it wasn't exactly true. There were nights I caught myself waiting for her message. Mornings I checked headlines hoping to see her name. Even now, standing beside her, I still felt like that same kid pretending to belong in her world. She stopped near the bench where it had all started. You know, she said, when I first asked you to pretend, I thought I was saving myself, but maybe you were the one saving me. I looked at her, really looked. The lines of exhaustion were softer now, her eyes calmer, lighter. You didn't need saving, I said. You just needed someone to see you. She smiled. And you did. A long silence stretched between us. Not awkward, just full of memory of what was and what could still be. Then she said quietly, they're not watching anymore. No board, no cameras, no one to impress. Good, I said. So what now? She hesitated, then stepped closer. Now we run, but this time no pretending. For a second, I couldn't move. The city seemed to hold its breath. Then she started jogging, slow at first, glancing back over her shoulder with that half-smile that had once disarmed entire rooms. I followed the path curved along the lake. Sunlight breaking through clouds. We ran side by side, the rhythm easy, familiar. She laughed once, a real unguarded laugh, and it felt like a door opening. Somewhere in that sound, I found everything I'd been chasing. Peace, purpose, her. When we stopped, both of us breathless. She turned to me. You still keep your promises? Only the ones that matter. Then keep this one, she said. Don't vanish again. I nodded. Not unless you tell me to. She reached out, brushed rain from my cheek, though it wasn't raining. Liam, she whispered. You were supposed to be my cover story, and her eyes softened. You became the ending I didn't know I needed. She leaned in, not for a kiss, but a moment. Foreheads touching. Two people who had already said everything without words. The world around us blurred into motion. Joggers, laughter, the hum of life moving forward. But for that heartbeat, it was just us still unpretending. Later, as she walked away down the path, I watched her silhouette fade into light and thought about how strange love can be. It doesn't always arrive dressed in certainty or timing. Sometimes it shows up in running shoes asking you to play a part until you realize it was never a role at all. And maybe that's what love really is. Two people running through the same storm, discovering that when the rain ends, they're still beside each other. I never told her this, but every morning since, I've gone jogging again. Not to chase her, not to escape, just to remember the moment when pretending stopped and everything real began.